For March the 10th, 2023, we talk about PowerWash Simulator's Midgar Special Pack, A Mortician's Tale, Like a Dragon Ishin, and much more. Welcome to level 450. My name is Kole Rouse.
I'm Dennis Furia.
And I'm Jala Prendez.
And you are listening to The Level, a podcast for people who love video games. Episode number 450.
Woo!
Yeah, big round comic book number. Just the three of us this time. So this is probably going to be a shorty. Although, what do I do? The knock on wood is for bad luck. What do you like? What do you knock on to make sure that this is going to be a short one? Doesn't become a curse. I'll just knock on the microphone.
That's good. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. We probably just drove maybe 15 dogs crazy with that. Yeah. Oh.
And whoever has headphones on, sorry.
Sorry.
So driving, that's got to be bad luck, actually, now that I think about it.
Probably should have known better, but hey, we're past it. Mm-hmm. Gotta forgive us. Yeah, so we're here. Jala, you were here last time, so I can't, I'm just going to go to you first anyway. Jala, what's going on?
Well, I'm not going to talk about all the frustrations at work because those are going to just continue forever. But it is spring. It is beyond spring. It is already like going to be 90 degrees here on the weekend because I live in a hot place. But that means that I knew I was going to be behind on gardening because of being out, off getting married and stuff earlier in the year. And as such, I started my gardening late, but I'm in gardening mode now and I've got stuff going and that is pleasant. The freeze over the winter killed off that 20 to 30-year-old lime tree that we had that was really, really good, that had spicy limes that we don't even know what variety it is. It must be some kind of hybrid or something.
Might even just be a wild one. I mean, yeah. I
don't know, but my dad doesn't even remember. He got it so long ago and we had it in the ground and it was, producing limes for years and years. And then Snowpocalypse 2021 murdered it. And then it came back the next year. And then we had a long, hard freeze that was solidly froze the ground and killed off the little bit that was growing back. But I just went out there today and when I was watering the plants, it's starting to grow one little twig. There is hope. There is hope. I'm just I kind of want to once it gets bigger, cut off a node and see if I can get it to root in water and then just plant it in, plant a separate, cutting off of it to see if I can get that to grow separate so I can put it in a pot and save it the next time it freezes. So that way maybe I can keep this thing alive. So.
I mean, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
How's
everybody else doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm kind of disappointed here. I picked up over the weekend a beer because I the 6-pack that I had been drinking over the previous 3 weeks was gone. So I've got a new one here, and it's a bit of a bummer if I'm being honest. It's an orange creamsicle sour, which I knew was going to be a gamble, not because I don't like sours. I actually like sours, but I was unsure how the vanilla would be incorporated into the flavor of it. And the answer is not at all. You get you get the sour, you get the orange, and then on a tape delay, you get the vanilla. And the point of an orange creamsicle is you get it all at once, right?
Yeah. So you got to put those together.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a bummer. But so I mean, it's not terrible. It didn't line up with my hopes.
I think I'm getting to the point in my life where I can treat a beer that I don't like a book that I don't like.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to force myself through this if I'm not enjoying it.
And cut bait. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Gonna take a sip here. I'll let you know when the vanilla hits.
Yeah. It's kind of why Dave and I like we will go and get like those sampler packs and pick a bunch of just random stuff, or we'll go to someplace like Yard House where you can do samplers of stuff and try a couple of things.
Yeah, get the flight is always the smart way to do it. Yeah. But no, other than that, I'm bummed that Ben isn't here because after him asking us every week, have you watched The Last of Us? I finally have watched the first three episodes, and he's gone. He's not here. So I did text him last night when I was in the middle of episode 1 to let him know that I finally took the plunge and told him what my thoughts were.
Because the finale just came out, right?
No, I think we're like 2 episodes away. If it's a 10 episodes, I think it's a 10 episode season.
Okay.
So
some big turn happened. I see all the headlines about.
Yeah. I timed it so that I'm likely to I'm likely to be caught up by the time the finale comes out, and I can watch the finale concurrent with everybody. That is the good way to do it, I think. Because that's the. I don't want to stay caught up. What am I going to do? Watch something and then wait a week to see the next part of it?
I know. The Mandalorian's out, but they're doing the 1 episode a week thing. Yeah, it's like, guys, this is what was cool about streaming services.
Yeah,
it was all out at once. And
there's a backlash. There's a backlash to the chug. Yeah, but it's good. I like it. Yeah. How about you, Dennis?
I'm doing pretty good. And in particular, my lumbar region is just doing fantastic. Ooh. Because I have bought a new chair to have at my PC. Previously, I was sitting on a scrap heap of wood and degradation that maybe at one point was meant to be a chair for a child's playhouse, but then had been like thrown out but crawled its way back to life and somehow got in our house. I really don't know where my old chair came from or why I used it other than just that was the chair. And I realized about a week ago that's stupid. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I deserve I'm not a college kid anymore. Yeah. I deserve a better chair than this.
So was your old one not even like an office or task chair?
Wow. Nary a roller or adjustable support to be found. It was just like when I say a chair out of a child's playhouse, I'm not exaggerating. That's kind of what it was.
Wow.
And like I said, I have plumbed the depths of my memory, and I don't know where it came from. It might be one of those like horror things where I'll come downstairs tomorrow and like the chair is back.
Oh, there'll be 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. My office chair is like broken to pieces in the corner. But yeah, so ordered one. I mean, nothing fancy. It was just an office chair, but my back had been hurting and now it doesn't. And it is ridiculous that it took me as long as it did, literal years, people, to realize, this is a problem that is super duper easy for me to fix. So,
oh yeah. Like you can go overboard, but like for, a couple $100, you could end up with something that's better than what you had.
At my office we have like those Aeron chairs or whatever that are like super super fancy and really breathable and amazing, but they're like $1,500. I looked because I was like, this is a great chair. I'm not paying that much money for that. Because that would be great in my office at home because it's very hot where I live, and that chair is very breathable, and it would allow my skin to breathe, and then I wouldn't get all hot being on an upholstered chair.
Yeah,
but
also $1,500. There are other kind of more meshy ones that you can get a hold of that are not the Herman Miller Aeron.
I've tried a couple of those in the past, and I didn't like they end up actually hurting my skin. So,
okay, so the Aeron itself, just
the mesh is different and it's fine. So anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So Dennis has finally fixed his back problem by getting something else.
Yeah, a rite of passage.
No,
there is one downside though, and this probably says more about my cable management than it does about the chair. But because I'm on these swanky rollers right now,
Ooh.
and you guys couldn't see, but when I said swanky rollers, I rolled my hips
Oh, yeah,
around
you
and
I
the chair
can hear
followed.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not that I actually heard you rolling around, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
your
yeah.
voice.
It was good. But when I scoot forward with my old busted ass chair, I would literally just like pick it up and set it down, because
Oh, yeah.
there were no rollers. Whereas now, if I try to roll forward, I can hit a wire that has strayed. I have some really long USB cords because sometimes I want to hook stuff up to the PlayStation or the TV or whatever. So it's nice to have that flexibility.
No.
But now, it's so hard, guys. I have to get a roller over the wire, and that's just I don't know if it's worth having this new chair if I have to do that.
Back to the
No, I'm kidding. It's
busted
wonderful.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good that you're noticing an improvement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there's an extra bounce in my step this week or a scooch in my seat, you'll know why.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like all of the banter and the catch up. So I think we ought to do the regular kind of show. What with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. If I figure out what segments we're actually doing still, and what order they
At least
come
you
in.
didn't start telling people to subscribe and like on Facebook and stuff. So.
Yeah, no, I've had a couple of. I'm very tired.
Don't worry. At some point, you'll have done this enough time that it becomes second nature.
Yeah, okay, cool.
450 apparently isn't enough, but
fingers crossed. Hey, hope springs eternal. So, why don't we get started with The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. I've got 2 new ones. So, do you mind if I go? Mind if I go
Lead us
first?
off.
Doing the thing.
Yeah. First one, I have played the first couple of hours of Like a Dragon Ishin.
Cool.
Okay.
I've been hearing a lot of sugar about that.
Yeah, it is neat. So Yakuza is called Like a Dragon now, just like it always was over in Japan. Yakuza was just kind of an Americanized name, but that series got away from organized crime stuff. This is a remake of a spinoff that I think was released back in 2013, maybe 2014, and it doesn't follow the story of Kuryu in that particular Tokyo neighborhood. Instead, this goes back to the late 1800s in Japan. Like it's a very specific historical moment where you are playing as Ryoma. Oh gosh, I forget his name. Oh no, I forgot everything because he uses Kiryu's model, and so I think of him as Kiryu. Yeah, I will actually need to pull this up.
Go
Like a
ahead.
Dragon. Ishin. There we go. But it takes place. It is the samurai. It is the samurai version of Yakuza, where you're playing as an actual historical figure named Sakamoto Ryoma, who he returns from Kyoto, or no, not from Kyoto. Fuck, I really am out of my depth here. He's been away studying swordcraft. He returns to the village where he grew up, Tosa, rather. Tosa is a video game studio. To meet back up with his adoptive father and his adoptive brother to find that they are kind of forming a political party in order to upset the extremely rigid class structure that was prevalent, not just in the country, but in that particular region. They're in the east there, and they are about ready to kind of stage their little insurrection when an assassin kills Ryoma's father, and he is kind of framed for it. The people in the castle find him next to it, and then he goes to Kyo over to the capital, leaving his homeland, his hometown, to do organized crime stuff, kind of getting in with basically the equivalent of fascist street gangs, like a loyalist party street gang, in order to try and figure out specifically, why his father was killed, and trying to kind of clear the way so that this revolution can happen, where you do not have all of these low class people being high key oppressed by these highfalutin folks. That's the setup. And it plays like a Yakuza game, by which I mean to say it is a bit of a clunky brawler, but once you get used to, once you get reacclimated to the pace of play, specifically once you get kind of more familiar with the different stances, which are much more distinct here in this one, then it actually starts getting fun. Not fun enough to make up for the fact that there are random encounters in this, because the thing about Yakuza games is that they are RPGs. That they are RPGs that have random encounters, but it is a brawler instead of being turn based. You're doing probably too much combat. The boss fights are fun when they add new kinds of enemies. They are, it's neat, but just running down the street and getting got by a guy, and that's been the case since the first one came out. Since the original Yakuza. So it's at a certain point, it's like, why am I complaining about a series not being what I want it to be, kind of deal. When I talk about the stances in the mainline Yakuza games, specifically, I believe after it wasn't in the original, but it was just kind of like more offensive styles, or different ranges, or different different rhythms of fight. In this one, it is more about what like weapon you're going to be using. So there's sword, there's brawler, there's gun, and then there's sword and gun. And you can switch between them at will. Using them will level them up to get you more, ability points to kind of level those styles, which also is how your main character levels. I've not found an awful lot of need to specialize. Because it's really advantageous to be mobile and to know which stance is going to be, best to use in a particular context. But they are.
Is there like a rock paper scissors thing going on between guns and swords and brawling?
Yeah. It's about like heavy weapons and whether or not they have distance, like where you're fighting, because brawling is also the one where you can pick up and use objects in the environment. Against them, so you can pick up a big old pot and break it over them. Like with sword and gun, that is your best dodging stance. The sword itself is the best damage, obviously. In brawler, which seems like it would be the loser of all of these because it's just your fists, is actually really powerful because you can do parries. So if you're fighting like low level guys, you can just chain parry and
Nice.
get your heat up, get your like limit break meter up, and do cool little special finishers, which are nice, fun, context dependent, brutal animations. So
when you say brutal, I would not have associated that with the Yakuza games. I had more of a cartoony type of deal.
It's not gory, is the thing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not it's not Gears of War. You're not curb stomping people. But it is, like I wouldn't want to have somebody drop their elbow on my head like that when I was already down. Yeah. But the real draw of these, you have the combat and you have the really fun, in this one, like this is history that I don't know. See my kind of stumbling over names and regions before. This is history that I'm not very well familiar with. So a lot of this is like new information to me, but to see it kind of presented in the crime, the crime movie presentation kind of meets historical fiction is real cool. And you're running around in the streets of it's a city from a place where you're not from, and it's at a different time, and everything is really well kind of like just slice of you have these little slice of life side stories and stuff. It's just kind of neat. It's just kind of neat to exist in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a friend once say that Yakuza, you do the game stuff as a reward for seeing all the fun story stuff.
Yes.
And there's a nice flow of like, okay, I did that. Now I sit back and watch.
Yeah. It's not something that I hear people talk about a lot, but like the performances are really good. Like I've always really enjoyed the melodrama of a Yakuza story. I was even like, okay, because the only other one that I've played in full is the American version of Yakuza 1, which had like Mark Hamill voicing the, kind of goofy sidekick guy who was also kind of a villain, it just had a bunch of American actors because they were, betting big on this, having more American appeal than it did. But like, starting with, not starting with, but like, Yakuza Zero's, kind of famous for this, but like generally the actors and animators that they have do a very good job of kind of getting these stories across. And it is fun to watch. It was very well conveyed.
Cool.
Yeah. What had you been hearing about it, Jala?
Mostly I just have friends who have been really, really enjoying it. Like hands down, they're just like, I love Yakuza. I love the series. This game is really good, and that's most of it. Because like I don't have context because I haven't played a Yakuza game, so I'm just like, cool. I'm glad you're enjoying the thing. So
yeah, no. So I'll probably have more of that as it goes. It's it's not a game that I like. This is going to sound like a backhanded compliment. It's not a game that I feel the need to like play for hours and hours on end, because you can just kind of advance a couple of side missions and see like a big cutscene, basically play like the equivalent of like two television episodes worth, and then feel pretty satisfied with it. So I'll only check in when I have, new big things to say, but like, yeah, Yakuza's cool. This being a new release at a time where I can play a few more games kind of seemed like a good timing to jump in, because I have always wanted to play more of them.
yeah,
Very cool. I mean, as a time-starved adult, the not needing to play it for long stretches at a time is the best thing you could say about a game.
Yes.
yeah. It's like, oh, so you're telling me that you want to have like your daily episodic dose of it, and that's not a bad thing. Just because you don't want to binge it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. That's not a backhanded compliment.
I'm not a game binger. I only do like, I don't even like when I have to do that for work. I really like, if I'm playing for more than an hour and a half, I get real restless. But
yeah,
I do too. But that's probably because I'm like neglecting 7,000 other things.
yeah, I just physically sitting still for that long is a little getting into my pants. Yeah. So the other thing that I played is I've played a large part of the Final Fantasy VII content for PowerWash Simulator.
I saw that.
You did. You popped in. I just I had a little bit of time on a Sunday morning, and I was like, I'm not really feeling anything else right now. I kind of want to get back on my simulator shit. And, I had heard more cool things about this content, namely that, Nomura, now the head writer on the Final Fantasy VII, like remake, big Final Fantasy guy. He was involved in this DLC, and also like that wrote dialogue and stuff for it. I was like, well, I gotta see what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you are a you're a power wash guy, power wash contractor, who is first being hired by the Shinra Corporation, and then as far as I've seen, you also get hired by Tifa, one of the leaders of Avalanche, the freedom fighter terrorist or eco terrorist, let's say. But I'm using that in a I'm smiling when I say it, not like, ooh, not eco terrorist, Yeah. And you are doing power wash simulator stuff, by which I mean using your hose and going over every single square inch of texture in on particular objects. But in Final Fantasy VII, specifically Final Fantasy VII remake stuff, I believe it is timed. It takes place over the course of the week before Final Fantasy VII takes place.
Okay.
Have you? So I know, Jala, you've played Final Fantasy VII, right?
Not the remake.
Not the remake. Okay, but if it roughly follows the plot beats. Dennis,
Yes.
have you played Final Fantasy VII?
I have played the remake for the first little bit. I have not finished it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you're not going to hurt my feelings spoiling stuff.
Yeah. So the first thing, the first thing that you're brought in to wash is the motorcycle and the truck from the escape sequence at the end of the Midgar section, where you're doing the motorcycle thing, riding as Cloud, trying to escape out of Midgar while protecting the rest of the party who are in a real dorky truck. And you are power washing them in the lobby of the Shinra Tower, where they get them from during the escape. Yeah.
Which sent me over the edge that you're power washing indoors.
I mean, it's a different setting, so maybe their indoor drainage is just real on point.
There were like paintings and stuff on the walls. Come on.
I mean, the fidelity wasn't enough. We don't know what kind of paints those were. It is very stupid. And I mean, that's kind of a summary point, but I kind of felt this way about the base game of Power Wash Simulator, but especially this, because it is made for such a particular kind of dork and made so lovingly. I am really happy that games can be weird like this.
Oh, for sure.
Not just that, haha, funny, they made a game about power washing. The case for a Power Wash Simulator is, I think, pretty clear and has been made by people more eloquent than I. But, just it is a very kind of therapeutic, relaxing game. It's kind of like just gently scratching and massaging the surface of your brain, if you're a particular kind of person. But, weird in the sense that, Square Enix happens to have bought the publishing rights for this, and the team said, well, I mean, since we're with you guys now, can we do Final Fantasy VII stuff? Can we do level 2, which is power washing the Scorpion Walker tank that you fight at the end of the mecha reactor in the opening dungeon? So, you're just here spraying just grime and shit off of this thing after it did a combat test, and it's gigantic. It's huge. You have to use a scaffolding to get up on top of it, right? And all the while that this is happening, Shinra's head of military and security or whatever, Heidegger, is just texting you fascist propaganda, about how all the people who disagree with them should be killed, Oh, no. And you're pressing a button okay, I need to get under the arms, so cycling it through poses so you can get to different spots of it,
oh, that's very good.
How weird is it? And it's so it is not just standing on weirdness' sake. It is made with a huge amount of love and care and affection for the Final Fantasy VII source material.
This is a game that was clearly made by actual humans instead of a corporation, a focus group.
Yeah,
that's what this feels like.
And it's weird to say that is to say that, and also acknowledge the reality that this is the product of a corporate merger, basically. A developer being bought by a publisher. And you can really see the attention to detail and the love on it, which is when you do the third level, which is the Seventh Heaven bar, the bar that is the hideout for Avalanche, where everything is again just lovingly rendered, and you're cleaning the mechanism on the that raises the pinball machine up and down to take people to the basement, right? It was fun to stream. I kind of don't want to play any more of that without streaming it again. So maybe there'll be another midday stream. I don't want to schedule anything as it goes, because I just associate this game with kind of hanging out, chilling in the chat. But it is Power Wash Simulator, which is good, with Final Fantasy VII fan service, which is good, both married together in an extremely satisfying way, which is great.
Nice.
Yeah. And also, this is free.
Wait,
Like,
free period or free DLC?
it is free DLC.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. I mean,
So,
I don't mean to, that shouldn't have sounded denigrating. That's awesome.
no, I realized I was unclear. But like, that was kind of a thing that kept coming up. I mean, I streamed for probably 3 hours on Sunday, way more than I intended to, because I just kept on wanting to finish and see what was next. But yeah, this is probably going to end up being like a 7 or 8 hour campaign that they just kind of gave away to everybody who bought the base game, which was already pretty substantial. So big win for developer generosity as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Viva weirdness.
Viva weirdness.
Any questions about PowerWash Simulator Final Fantasy VII content?
No.
All right. Let's see. Jala. I want to hear what you have.
Okay, so I've got one that I enjoyed and one that I did not enjoy. We will talk about the one I did not enjoy first. Boyfriend Dungeon, which is unfortunate because y'all are probably familiar if you've been listening to the show for long enough. You probably remember that I talked about this a lot because I saw it when it was a Kickstarter. I think it was like a news story I brought once upon a time because it just threw my brain off. I was like, wait, what? What is this? And then I was supposed to go see it at PAX South, but then the booth was broken and I couldn't play it actually. So then I was like, oh, I've got to play this sometime. And then it came out, and then I've just been very busy and I just never did play it. Well, a friend of mine and listener of the show and all of Duckfeed shows prior did end up eventually giving me a copy. So I went ahead and tried it out. And unfortunately, it's really, really triggering for me. I will talk about it. So this is a 2021 dungeon crawler and dating sim by Kit Fox Games. And it's highly rated. Most folks I know who have played it seem to really, really enjoy it, including Briar. They love it completely. However, like I said, it triggered me. So maybe when you start your game with like a content warning that's like, by the way, there's a lot of stuff in here with stalkers and unwanted attention and assault. So, and it starts with that. Like that's the first thing you see is that on your screen. Maybe think about that a minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the setup is you have never dated anybody before, and your mom apparently thinks that you are intrinsically broken. And so you're sent off to California to stay with your cousin, who then begins to set you up with a bunch of different dates with various people. Okay.
That's already pretty rough.
Yeah. So before I talk about the stuff in particular that really sent me over the edge and did not work for me, I will talk some sugar about the things that actually do work well. So it's a dungeon crawler. The dungeon crawling is roguelite. It's fun. The gameplay is solid. You do have a dodge roll, a light, and a heavy attack, and you combine those into sequences that give you stronger attacks or whatever. And then as you spend time with each of the different weapons who are people, like people can turn into weapons and some people wield the weapons in this world. So like when you spend time with the weapons,
top or a bottom?
Yeah, pretty much. If you you spend time with these weapons outside, however way you do, you bond with them and then you get different attacks and stuff unlocked as you progress through your relationship levels with them. And all of the weapons play differently, so there's that. The perspective that's in this dungeon, they're called dunges, but fuck you, I'm not referring to them that way. Anyway, these dungeons,
sounds like a filthy. I hate it.
Yeah, no, like that's never.
But
no,
saying it that way
thank
is
you.
so much more a fish.
Oh,
I will kick you from the call.
You found a new thing that really bothers me. Okay, so anyway, the perspective is isometric, and actually one of the characters, Rowan, was designed by the artist of Hatoful Boyfriend, so that's Cool. And the main character defaults to they, them pronouns, although you can change them to suit your preference. And in this game, you can date men, women, and non-binary characters, although I don't know if there's any trans folks represented. And I also don't know if there's any disabled folks, but at least they have some degree of representation going on here. So the dungeon monsters are designed to represent protagonist fears, so it kind of reminded me of like Persona 4 in that way, because that's all about like going into your psyche. I don't know if all the personas are like that because I don't have patience for some of them, but see whatever episode I was talking about Persona 5. Anyway, like each of the characters you can either become friends with or date. They come up against similar issues at the same time. So when you're going through it with whatever characters you decide to get really close to, the conversations with other characters also remain relatable. So it's not like, you know, this one person is super happy and then this other person is having like a super tearjerker moment of abandonment issues or whatever. Like it's kind of, they're all going through it at the same time. So like there's a similar vibe cohesively, you know, thematically throughout all of your interactions at the same time. So that's all fine.
Yeah.
So what bothers me, the stalker situation and people just being really horny off the cuff without actually having learned a damn thing about you. Those are super stressful situations I have lived through in my actual life multiple times. I have had 3 stalkers at different times in my life, starting in grade school and going on from there. And I have also had lots and lots of horny people bother me. And so I have always just kind of automatically noped out of talking to such individuals. And I literally do not want to talk to, let alone see any character in this game. None of them. Not even your cousin. I don't want to see any of them. I want to kill the cousin, actually. So, because like he's the one who keeps on making me go off and be around these other people that I don't want to be around.
Putting you in situations that you don't, and I kind of don't like that. The man, can the lesson from this just be that a person can be happy alone?
Yeah, I know. And like allegedly, like you can just pick to be friends with these people, but you still have to put up with all the assaulty, stalkery, whatever BS is going on throughout the rest of the game to do that in the first place. So that is BS. And you know, the fact that your choice to totally avoid them is taken away from you is very triggering to me, and it causes a lot of anxiety and, of course, pent-up aggression, as you might imagine. So I did not, as a result, get very far into this game. In a dating sim, you get to know the characters before everybody starts to try to jump each other's bones or whatever. And, you know, as a person, I want to get to know you before I ever decide any dating stuff is possible. So this is like on its way to being an eroge, but like without actually being flat out about sex directly for that particular purpose. So it fails to be a dating sim where you get the mushy gushies before you get sexy, and it fails to be explicitly explicit. So it's just in a space that is just not doing anything that I would want out of this.
It has the pacing of a porn game.
It has the pacing of a porn game, but the trappings of, I don't know, something else entirely. And like it's making you go through here. And Briar tells me that later on it gets sexier, but in a textual innuendo sort of way, which, okay, that's fine. But again, some of these trappings are absolutely not something I want to project myself into. And I think if the main character was not specifically, you know, quote unquote, you, but some other named character with an established face, etc., that's not my face, or you know, like a approximation of me.
Interesting.
I would be able to better handle. It's kind of like, remember when I was talking about Until Dawn and how I couldn't deal with that because I don't want to put myself in that situation because, you know, like as a smaller assigned female at birth individual, I do not want to be in a situation with these stupid frat people who are dangerous for me to be around. You know, and so like having myself put into that situation where I have to, you know, act as if I'm there really upsets me. It's the same kind of concept here, I think. So like, I'm just, the way I feel about the characters in this is that the whole game is full of Sigma from Virtue's Last Reward. Every single character. I can't. So unfortunately, I discovered that it was very, very triggering, even though I had been looking forward to playing it for a very, very long time because it sounded like goofy and fun.
Well,
And
and
then,
it looks goofy and fun. Like the actual play graphics are real charming, like real chibi, and the illustration style, looks. I mean, like the closest analog that I can think of that I had seen before is like Dream Daddy, right?
yeah,
Like this is a particular kind of, and I'm not saying this pejoratively, but like a Tumblr kind of art,
yeah.
you know. And yeah, like that it appears to have that vibe, but then gets into that kind of stuff. I I can't remember. Was there like backlash around this game when it came out, or is this uh,
The one thing I remember seeing was that the character that I think serves to be, I don't remember exactly which character it was, but apparently there's a character that serves to be kind of a abusive relationship type of thing. Um, was played so quote unquote well by the actor that people like sent that actor hate mail.
yeah,
I don't remember anything else. And I mean, Jolly, you said they did at least put a trigger warning at the start of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you have to like it. Um, but
yeah,
it's better than not having it, I guess.
Well, I mean, like for the way that it looked in the Kickstarter and all the stuff I had read about it leading up to it, I was like, okay, so this sounds like this is probably going to be some goofy stuff because I liked Hatoful Boyfriend and I liked
yeah,
Dream Daddy and I liked whatever that Colonel Sanders game was. I love you, Colonel Sanders, or whatever. Remember when I played that on stream?
yeah,
That
yeah,
Mhm.
like goofy, stuff like that. That's dating sim adjacent. So I was like, well,
yeah.
this looks ridiculous. I need to play this too. And what I ended up getting was a lot different than the thing I thought I was going to get.
Hmm.
So
Odd.
yeah. So anyway, that's a bit of a bummer if you don't have severe trigger issues with that, like having had stalkers and issues of those natures in the past, then maybe you would enjoy this and have fun. Like I said, lots of other people I know have played this game and really dig it and don't have any problems with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just like one of those, hey, it's just me because of my scars in my past, but so it is.
Huh.
But the other game that I played is A Mortician's Tale. So this is a short death positive game where you play a mortician running a funeral home. It was developed by Laundry Bear Games and released in 2017. It's available pretty much everywhere on phones and systems all over the place. It was made possible by assistance from the Ontario Arts Council. And I didn't realize it when I was playing it, but these folks also made Speed Dating for Ghosts, which is one that I played a while back and really
Sweet.
liked.
Yeah.
So this one was really highly recommended and labeled one of 2017's best indie games. And when I was doing some research on it, I found out that it was inspired by Caitlin Doughty and the Order of the Good Death, which is a nonprofit that encourages more eco-friendly burial practices by offering information and resources, including financial support for nonprofits, encouraging more economically and earth-friendly solutions to death and ritual. There's
Hmm.
even a podcast called Death in the Afternoon that I started to listen to. And when I started listening to it, I realized that I had read Caitlin's book, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, about the experience of being a crematory worker some number of years ago. Because I went down a rabbit hole of I read Working Stiff, which is about a medical examiner. And then I read the memoir Stiff by Mary Roach, which is about a mortician. And
Hmm.
Smoke Gets in Your Eye. Like I had a theme going.
Man,
And I was
Stiff is
just
such a
like,
good. That's such a good book.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's what it was inspired by. Because when I was playing this, I was like, this reminds me really strongly of those books that I was reading.
Hmm.
And well, it's supposed to. So the game itself is mechanically really, really simple. So you read emails from your friend, your coworker, and your boss, and also a mortician's email list that covers various information about funerals. And so, it's those emails, like the email list emails that have where all the teaching content is. So it tells you different stuff about funeral etiquette, customs, grief processing, and different methods of processing the remains, including green burial and water cremation. So it tells you all this different stuff while you're playing the game. And you have to prepare bodies for their services either by embalming or cremating, different specifications per the wishes of the deceased and their family. And that's it. There's no management aspect or fail condition that I can see. So it's mostly just story driven. The narrative starts out with your character, Charlie, having started a job at a mom and pop funeral home as a funeral director. And then as the story proceeds, there are financial struggles, and eventually the company is bought out by Big Funeral. And
Oh no.
Big Funeral keeps trying to make you upsell fancier packages to grieving families, so much so that your coworker quits. And then there's like a time skip, and somehow your character goes from funeral director to either having bought out the funeral home from Big Funeral or starting their own funeral home. But either way, you are your own boss and you run a green funeral home at the end. And then credits roll. This is like an hour-long game. It's very easy to get through all of this. So I thought that this might be too heavy for me to handle playing, but it was treated in a way that was very respectful, but also put, again, a positive spin on death. So you are treating the remains respectfully. The funeral itself is an important part of grieving and so on. There are topics mentioned that never come up during the course of the game. For example, that a trans person may be misgendered by their own family and their last wishes disregarded. And, they might have all of that just even in their funeral, even in death, they are still dealing with being misgendered. There's also a case of last wishes being disregarded due to stubborn family or a legal loophole, but no trans folks make an appearance in the thing. So it really kind of feels like a lot of it is food for thought, so you can consider these things on your own with respect to your own situations in your life. So I'd recommend it for folks if you're able to handle the concepts and stuff, just because it's kind of really meditative more than anything. Like, it's not something that you play when you're in a mood to, mash buttons or anything for sure. But it's just very light going, even though it's about a heavy topic.
Yeah. I mean, and so superficial, but like the art style does a very good job of, kind of priming you for this to be a softer experience.
Yeah.
Not superficial. That's exactly what the previous game we talked about did wrong, right? Like that art direction is super important.
Oh yeah, but no, that I have had my eye on this, and the fact that it is an hour long immediately makes me more interested.
Yeah.
Or not more interested, but like makes it like, oh yeah, like this is something I could kill on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Didn't mean to say kill.
Well, and I would also recommend like that Death in the Afternoon podcast from The Order of the Good Death and Caitlin Doty. That is also really good. I've only listened to like 4 or 5 episodes. I think there's 25 or 26 episodes out. They're about half an hour each. They're well written, well scripted, well done. They had like a production studio work on the actual quality of the podcast. So like, It sounds very good. And it got me talking to a friend of mine, and we're probably going to be doing a death positivity episode of Jala-chan's Place coming up in the next couple of months. So
very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a worthwhile thing to like make a game about and kind of get somebody kind of participating in the mechanics of what goes on while also learning, the context around it, because like it's a thing a lot of people don't like thinking about.
Yeah, and because like our society in particular is so death avoidant, that sometimes can make grieving that much harder. And so like when I'm talking about it on my podcast, it's going to be like outlining different ways that people go about their business of honoring their dead person and processing the body and everything, and a bunch of other different stuff as well. And it will be me and Desiree, who was on the DEIB episode of my show, as well as Cameron from Monster Dear Monster, who is not a like medical examiner or anything, but did in college take some number of forensics courses before turning into a violin teacher. So
yeah, No, that's a great idea
Yeah.
for a podcast episode as well. And
Yeah.
I mean, for as much as it's a joke on the network about how pro euthanasia we are in games, or I'll just put that on myself and Gary. It's like, just like the topic of dignity and death, I think is real important.
Yeah.
And I just like another detail, real happy to hear that like this specifically addressed it. Like, you talk about how averse we are to the topic, and like that just creates room for it, the funeral, for grieving to be commoditized,
Yeah.
you know
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
like,
Because
let's take people at their weakest and put them in a room and then force them to buy a bunch of expensive stuff
right.
while they're at their most fragile. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And there's even like an example of an email where like your boss at big funeral is responding to somebody who says they want to do like a home funeral and they don't want to do this or that, and like ended up upselling this person, manipulating them to like buy this big package, and it was just gross. But
Happens.
also,
Yeah.
the Order of the Good Death, I put a link in the show notes. Also has a resource page that is video games about death positivity, and What Remains of Edith Finch was on there, and That Dragon Cancer, which y'all will know because, of course, Dennis had organized that interview with the dev. Spiritfarer, Mortician's Tale, Blackwood Crossing, Dear Esther, The Graveyard, To the Moon, Felix the Reaper, and Gravity's Ghost. I played a large number of these, actually. So yeah, like apparently this is a topic that I'm very into, and understandably my parents are disabled. I live with them. I see them as their health degrades, so like it's honestly a topic that I need to be well versed in and be like processing and aware,
Yeah.
So
Shit. I
anyhow,
mean,
so those are the games that I played, and like I said, I was surprised. Mortician's Tale actually had links to other stuff that I had studied some number of years ago. So,
a fun coincidence.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's probably something uniquely suited in video games to exploring that topic. Just a way of going about things that is more experiential, but with you in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think that allows you to play around with things in a very sensitive way that also lets the person experience it, keep their hands firmly on the controls, which is not to go back to your boyfriend dungeon, but like I think video games are also uniquely suited to look at stuff like explored if they do it right. So yeah, can do it well, can do it poorly.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I've been playing DMZ, and I've got another tale from DMZ. But I also went back to a mobile game that I played quite some time ago. I've picked Grindstone back up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this was like when Apple Arcade launched. This was the killer app, and is an amazing game. It's kind of got a Bejeweled or a Candy Crush like match 3-esque template, like that's the genre. But rather than switching shapes around or finding groupings, you play as this super beefy sword guy named George, who is rampaging his way through these cute little minions. And each minion is a different color, and they're all on a grid. And you string your path along minions of the same color, and then certain grindstones, where the game gets its name from, allow you to change the color that you are slaying. And the longer the chain, the higher the score, the more grindstones you produce, and it's a whole virtuous cycle. So I played this game pretty close to its launch, and loaded it back up, and my old save was still there. So I clicked right in and was immediately assaulted by like 45 new systems and
Oh no.
exclamation points everywhere denoting new characters I had to go talk to and new rooms and old houses that I'd visited. And
That
oh look, now there's a mid boss place, a separate inn you visit where there wasn't even the option to before. And I just got completely overwhelmed, backed out of that, and started a new game.
I mean, that's
So
a great way to make sure that people, man, that's a great way to make sure that you never come back to it again.
yeah, I was very disappointed because I remember when I played it that I gotten to the point that it's like, all right, like these levels are getting so hard, like it's not a fun little breezy game anymore. It's like a real sit down and thinky kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I would at least be able to go back and check things out, rather than hitting the reset button.
Hmm.
No, I'm having fun with it. Like it is a well designed game with great art direction, and just a really snappy, fun, gameplay loop.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't complain too much. But yeah, it was just crazy to me because specifically Grindstone was the game that didn't need to have all the free to play bullshit because it was on Apple Arcade,
Right.
right? Like this was the game that didn't require you to go through all of these hoops. And I guess they're probably running into the problem of how do we keep players that are playing this every day and are intimately familiar with it engaged, and kind of ramp up the complexity and intrigue for them while still being friendly to new players. The weird gap in that strategy, even if they're doing both of those things well, is people like me who went through the old new player experience, and didn't get the on ramp to all these new systems. That said, I'm with my new save. I'm ramping back up into the game, and I'm already getting some of the new systems, but it's now one new system instead of 15.
Yeah.
And I can do that. I can make that work. So yeah, it's a real fun game.
It's funny how this game developed like free to play just crufts
Yeah, I
without the monetary necessity for it to do so.
it's like how crabs evolve on several different locations and occasions in history.
It's what we'll all become. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
carcinification. Yeah, it's just like it a little bit reminds me of the thing where for a while there were games that had your character squeeze through a narrow place in
Mm-hmm.
order to hide load screens. I think this was like an Uncharted innovation, right?
Yep.
And everybody was like, "Oh, that's a great way to hide load screens." And then systems got faster, and you didn't need to hide your load screens like that. But people got so used to um got so used to the squeezing through narrow places is an indicator of, oh, this is a big and fancy and good game,
Uh
that
huh.
they just kept on doing those little parts
Of
even though
note,
there
there
was
was
no
like,
technical reason.
yeah, there was some giant reveal of a new engine. It was like whatever Unreal Engine we're on now, 5 or 6 or whatever, where they were showing off a level made with the engine, just how amazing it was, and it very prominently had that. And people were like, "What the hell? Like you're trying to show us that this engine is great, yet you have the loading screen thing?" And they're like, "Well, no, 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 no. That was what it was a chance to zoom in and really see the good texture of the rocks, is what
Okay.
it was. That's what we were doing." And it's like, muscle memory got you, huh?
Yeah, no, that's just how games are now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, craziness. So yeah, I don't know if the free to play trappings are that for mobile games or what, but
yeah.
it definitely made it hard. It was hard to return, easy to start again, I guess. How about
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions about Grindstone?
No, I
No.
got nothing.
Very cool. All right. Well, I will do my tale from DMZ, and then I guess we'll be out of here. So this time around, I had a mission to use drill charges to do several things. So drill charge is this little like clampy thing. You throw it against a wall, it drills a hole through the wall and drops a grenade on the other side. Super cool, fun idea. And one of the thing was to destroy vehicles with drill charges. So like, hey, let's slap this on a windshield and drop a grenade in the driver's seat. Great idea. Except something is going on with like the way these are programmed or what. They do very little damage to vehicles. Frustratingly low damage, to where I quickly realized, even if I was carrying 4 or 5 of them, and usually you spawn in with 1, you have space in your inventory for 2 before you need to take up another inventory spot. So like, even if you really load up on drill charges, it wasn't enough. What you had to do is shoot up the vehicle first and then use the drill charge to take it across the finish line. So I had gotten 2 vehicles that way. It was my last drop for the night. And I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna finish this mission, to the point where I told the other person on my team, like, hey, we'd done a couple other things together. I was like, you can head to exfil. I'm just gonna stay behind and get a charge, right? Or, get this final vehicle. So the first vehicle I come up to is a big truck, and I shoot it up to what I think is pretty low, throw my drill charges at it, and I run out of drill charges, and there's like a 10th of the health left, and I'm like, well,
jeez,
freaking miscalculated. All right,
okay,
let's try again.
Waste of a run. Oh, so you went back. Oh,
no,
God.
yeah. So in the game, I was carrying a munitions box, which allows you to re-up, and then if you hunt around a little bit, you can usually find something if you're lucky. So I use my munitions box. So now, instead of the 4 drill charges I had, I have 2 left. I'm like, all right, we're going to make this work. We're going to do this. And I go over to this other area, and I find, there's a jet ski parked there. Jet skis are very fragile, so I don't have to worry about like too much. I still have to shoot it up a little bit, but I don't have to worry about not having enough drill charges. This is perfect. Literally 2-tap it with my battle rifle, and it explodes in my face. God damn it!
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking for a real Goldilocks middle bear.
I'm looking for that middle bear. I'm looking for the AQ armored truck. So the big rig, that was the wrong choice. The jet ski, wrong choice. Nice middle of the road option. A AQ armored truck is what it's called. It's like carries the enemies. And I managed to find another munitions box. So it's like, okay, I can still make this work. I'm on my last 2 drill charges now. Time is running out in the mission. And I find this truck that's nearby, and it's like, okay, I've gone through pretty much all the vehicles I can find, right?
Right.
But the thing about these trucks is usually they show up on the map because they're carrying enemies. And so I find this truck, the enemies are like jumping out of it, and I kind of shoot them, but I'm like, really, I just need to focus, man. I just want the truck. You guys can go. Like,
right.
I shoot up the truck, I get it low, and then the freaking bots start shooting and grenading the truck.
They know. Yeah.
It's like the game knows. They explode the truck before I can kill it.
This is how they keep their KPIs up.
It's gotta be.
They snake. They snake different people's objectives, so you just never stop playing.
Yes, I am confident in that now.
Yeah.
So this AI trolled me. I am now drill chargeless. 3 vehicles in a single drop, just trying to get 1. I just need 1 to explode. And I'm losing my mind. I'm like, this should not be this hard. Fortunately, my teammate, who I had told, hey, you can go off to extraction, zooms in. My hero had stuck around and was doing some other objectives, saw I was having trouble, probably heard me cursing at the top of my lungs. I don't really remember. I was blacking out at that point.
Okay.
Just from frustration. And he had 1 extra drill charge.
Okay.
He had found. And baby, the radiation is spreading. It's time to go, but I'll be damned if I don't take my final shot. So I find a little sedan. I shoot it up. I think I've got the perfect amount. Not, I don't know. Throw it on and finally get the final vehicle destroyed. So then it's just a mad dash to get to the exfil because, like I said, radiation is spreading. So we're careening across the map. We've destroyed all the vehicles around us, so you can't drive. So we're just running for it, and managed to extract with that objective intact. God help me. I will never, ever, ever use a drill charge again.
Well, it sounds like they don't do shit.
No, there are some edge cases where it's useful.
Well, I mean, it sounds like
Destroying
it's more for
vehicles.
killing somebody on the other side of a wall rather than actually taking out
Yeah,
armor.
it's definitely not taking out a vehicle. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
The other fun use that's built into the mission is the people carrying riot shields. You throw the drill charge into the riot shield, and that pops it through, gets them. So that's a fun little trick. But I'm not going to use it because I'm done with drill charges. I don't have to use them anymore, and I will not. So yeah, that's my tale from DMZ.
Well, thankfully that other person came along.
I know. Thank God for friendly randoms.
Oh man. Well,
multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
Yeah, I wanted to know about not necessarily the OG, but your OG. What game got you into your current favorite genre? And now that you have a lot more reference points for the genre, how does that game hold up?
Yeah. And I'll get us started here with Sean, who says, I enjoy a good action adventure game, and the first one I ever played was the original Tomb Raider back on the PS1. I was amazed by it as a teen, though looking back, I have no idea how I managed to play it as the controls were so fiddly. Thing is, the controls were fiddly, but they were predictable. As long as you had the time to put into it, and you were a teenager then.
Yeah, so much can be attributed to little kid patience.
Man, the original Tomb Raider is a very good game. Yeah. Jala, what does Eli say?
Eli says, I didn't get into Souls-likes until around the time Dark Souls 3 came out. Despite this, I have the relatively unique position of having played through the From games entirely in order despite my first day purchase being Sekiro. So this honor goes to Demon Souls.
Nice.
Very cool.
Demon Souls is, I mean, that was the start of it. Well, I mean, of Souls-likes as we know them. I'm not going to go into the whole history of them. You know what I mean.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, we talk about that on at length. Yeah. Dennis, what does Jeremy say?
They say, during COVID, I restarted playing video games after stopping for 5 years, besides the casual game on my phone. I started playing Dark Souls 1 in 2018 because I heard rumors about it, that it was really tough, and I was just intrigued. That is what brought me to all the Soulsborne and Metroidvania genre, and I will be forever grateful. Also, the game is still a masterpiece to this day. Because of that, I had the chance to find this great community and so many great games. Amazing. Aw, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And another one, Dark Souls, Demon Souls. Yeah, no surprises. Man, we should really make a rule against that.
The anti-Dark Souls rule?
Yeah, just like, oh, we know. We got you. No, everybody can continue answering as they would like to.
I'll always put besides Dark Souls in parentheses on prompts.
Rookie says, I didn't realize it at the time because the genre didn't really exist yet, but Super Metroid got me to love the type of game that would later be called a Metroidvania. And I think it still holds up. Not exactly a hot take, but guy shrugging emoji? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Is that just like...
That's a shrugger.
Like, okay. Yeah.
That's good. I always see it as like kind of a...
Yeah, I'm just like looking at this stuff. It really sticks out. I'm not laying a burn on everybody who pays attention to us, but like we have an older audience as far as like video game stuff goes, just generally.
Sir, are you insinuating that we are not hip with Gen Z?
I never even pretended that I was, but it sticks out when people are like, "Oh, what was the game that got you into this?" And then they name the example that they were there playing, at a formative age. Yeah, it's cool. We've got cred. Jala, what does David say?
David says, Pokemon Red was my first RPG and got me used to the idea of XP, level ups, skills, and grinding. The first gen of Pokemon doesn't hold up so great in my opinion, but I still enjoy playing a Pokemon game.
Is this our David or is this a different David? We have a lot
This
of
is
Davids.
a different David. The David of Dojima.
There
I
are so
believe.
many Davids.
Lots of Davids.
Oh, it's that David. I have that David. He's also in my Discord. I gotta collect them all.
I've caught that one. Yeah.
Anyway,
I just that lines up with I know it sounds similar to David Moneysmith, but
sure.
JRPGs wouldn't be his favorite genre. So moving on. And Dennis, what does I believe this is pronounced Maniad? Yeah, what did they say?
Yeah. Maniad says Resident Evil on PlayStation 1 was the first game I played flat out at the unwise age of 5.
Ooh.
Oh my god. That's me, not them. And despite scaring the hell out of me, I developed a taste for survival horror that has lasted permanently.
Hey, you know?
And the good news on that one is even if you don't think the original Resident Evil holds up, there's a really good remake.
True enough. The original Resident Evil has its charms. It's just, yeah, it's pretty archaic. Yeah. No, I'm not going to do the survival horror one because that's already been done, but because I've been just on my bullshit with the management sim stuff, I'll say this. OG Sim City, like on the PC and stuff. Maybe not the OG one. It was like the Windows 95 version, probably. Like played it at a friend's and just, it was really hard to put it down. And, you know, having gone back and revisited it, it was, like a lot of it was there, you know, and I would even like, you know, for me, I would even say stuff that was added like in SimCity 2000 or what have you. Like, it's nice to have, but it's not essential for that game to be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The SimCity is one of those, not quite on the Tetris level, but like pretty close to being like a, you know, fully formed and, you know, nearly perfect expression of what it is trying to get across.
Yeah, they captured the essence of what it was meant to be very well on the first pass.
Yeah. Which is modeling Will Wright's extremely weird conservative ideas about building a city.
Fun story about that. I'm sure I've told this on the show at some point. In 450 episodes, you have to have. Mm-hmm. But when I played it, I somehow missed that you could lay water pipes. I could only find the water towers.
Oh, that's a SimCity 2000.
Okay, yeah. There you go. So that was my entry to it. And so proceeded to plop water towers at intervals so that just proximity to the water tower without any pipes would get everyone water, and kept on getting these notices like, you know, oh, people are leaving their faucets running and taking extra long showers. We've got so much water. I'm like, well, I'm not there's no water or there's too much water. I don't know what you want from me. And they just wanted me to use pipes.
Yeah, that's funny. Let's see here. Jala, how about you?
So I would say Shining Force. It's a strategy JRPG, and so Shining Force Resurrection of the Dark Dragon on GBA was a better version of it, but I can still play the original. I have it on my phone. I have it on various devices, like whatever. I also have an original Genesis still, and I still have a copy of it. So anyway, it's really simple compared to Fire Emblem, but I really enjoy it all the same. And I like that the creatures and worlds are the way that they are in the Shining Force games. Like, I like those better than I like the Fire Emblem folks. But I really wish that those games would have progressed in the original style and vied with Fire Emblem for the strategy JRPG throne, because I'm really curious what they would have done with it. Because, you know, like the later Shining Force games turned into like Shining Resonance Refrain, and that's like a very, very different thing. It's not anything like what the original games were doing. So, yeah, but
those were action-y, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Ugh. Road's not taken.
Yep.
Yeah. And Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I kind of was thinking about what genre to do this for, because the answer is obviously different by each genre. I think it's interesting that Hearthstone was my entry into CCGs. Kind of by a miracle, I somehow missed Pokemon growing up, which just feels impossible hey,
yeah.
sheltered kid, I guess. And so like truly, Hearthstone was the first time I had played a game in that genre, and my eyes went wide, and a whole new world was opened up. So obviously that's Deck of Wonders kind of
Yeah.
captures that card battler feel and all that stuff. So very formative for me.
I was going to ask if card games or tabletop games have somehow become important to you.
Oh yeah.
Well, what's very funny to me is that like the first trading card game thing that I played was the Digimon card battle on the PS1. So I played one before you did, Dennis, and you still have to tell me how to play them.
Well, I did put a few of my own twists on it, if I do say so myself. But yeah, so I kind of got out of Hearthstone. I was in a particularly busy season at work, and hadn't missed a daily quest in Hearthstone in 3 years or something. I was like, I got to take it off my phone because I am not like I can't not do it if it's on there and I need the focus. So, and then I just never got around to putting it back on. But I jumped off right before they went in a lot of weird directions. So the expansion that I left right before did a whole bunch of like single player focused stuff, like story mode focused stuff, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's not the experience that I think of when I think of Hearthstone.
No.
And then they went deep into the auto battler genre. So like almost a whole different game within the game. And then I don't know where they've gone from there, but it's a very different game now. So I won't say it hasn't held up well, because it's Hearthstone, it's doing just fine for itself. But I do think that what I think of it as is probably not really still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn you kids, get off my lawn.
I know. Why they ever release expansions for this card game, I don't know.
It was fine the way it was.
Learn these new mechanics.
Well, thank you, everybody, for responding. If you would like to participate in these, you can go to the Duckfeed Community Facebook group. Just search for Duckfeed Community. You'll find it. And watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. And thank you, Dennis, for posting.
Yahoo!
The end boss.
Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us. Jala, give us an AI story.
Okay, scientists found out that DeepMind's AI learned how to play the Atari game Skiing 6,000 times faster by reading the instructions. And they're hoping to use this to help AI learn how to operate cars and robots to operate household appliances. And DeepMind's AI has been mastering games without instructions for years, but this new twist is that somebody thought to let it look at the manual that is written for a human being first, and then now it's like, hey, amazing, it learned it so much faster. And I actually only brought this up for Dennis and Dave's sakes. So listen to the banter on the last episode I was on for more about why that is.
I love me some skiing. This game has a special place in my childhood.
The Atari one?
No, I guess it's Ski Free is the one I know.
Oh yes, yeah. No, the little Yeti come and get you when the time's up.
Yeah. You gotta know that this was an intern that suggested this, right? And then everybody at the company explained to that intern why they were stupid for thinking that and how that's not how we've always done it this other way. And then they tried it and it worked.
Yeah.
That's my headcanon anyway.
I hate that my instinct is to say I hope nobody gives it the screenplay to Terminator. Because that's just such a hack joke, but it's also all I can think of. Like, I mean, it is almost a bit of a little bit too simple, right? Of a solution. Yeah.
Well, I guess from a development standpoint, like for the purity of the learning algorithm or whatever, and this is me talking out my ass. I don't know a thing about this, but I'm going to prognosticate anyway. To really focus on the learning side of the algorithm, you don't want to bias it in any way. And I wonder if this is signaling kind of a change where it's like, okay, we're confident enough we've got the learning side of it down that we are okay introducing material at the outset that might bias it or might send it off in a specific direction, but that
Mm-hmm.
like, we feel good about doing that now.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. There are fun little, there are fun stories about AI trying to learn how to play a game, and then it just figures out a completely degenerate strategy, or like takes advantage of a glitch that nobody knew about before. Like those are cool and fun, but for like applications, games have rules, and machines work in a particular way. And if you're trying to teach a computer to control a machine, like it's probably pretty good to give them a to show them where the guardrails are, right? Or in Skiing's
Massive head
case,
start.
yeah, or in the skiing terms, to show them where the flags are that they got to get between. Yeah. Huh. Well, 6,000 times. I think that would be. I think that would be rated as statistically significant.
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly.
I've got one.
Yay.
Couple of announcements came out of the big event that Firaxis held. Firaxis, publisher of strategy games, stuff like that. The biggest one being that Cities Skylines 2 was announced. Going to be launching later on this year. Looks to be a refined version of City Skylines, which it's kind of ridiculous to think that City Skylines 2 is coming out, but then you remember that the original came out 8 years ago or something like that. And when it came out, there was also, it was like a scrappy upstart going up against SimCity, the really bad one that killed that franchise. Or not really, I don't know. It had its charms, but it wasn't great. But then, it's probably time. So we're going to be getting that. I'm curious about it. It looks pretty, but I would like to know how it plays. Other one is Harebrained Schemes, the developer of the Shadowrun games, have a new strategy game coming out that is kind of themed after like 1930s pulp story, Indiana Jones kind of stuff. It's called the Lamplighters League, which looks real neat. Like, I'm down for Harebrained Schemes. The only reason I haven't played BattleTech is just because I'm not really crazy about the theming.
This has got major vibes of that Left 4 Dead alike that we played a long time ago. Why can I not remember
Strange Brigade?
Strange Brigade. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. Which I'm like furiously scrolling through my Steam catalog. And that is too low in the alphabet for me to find in a timely fashion. Yeah. This is Strange Brigade, just turn based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then two more that I care about. There is going to be an expansion for Surviving the Aftermath called Surviving the Aftermath Rebirth. That is the Surviving Mars that takes place after like a post-apocalypse on Earth, which I've kind of wanted to get into. And an expansion.
The next one is going to be called Surviving the Aftermath Rebirth Aftermath.
Well, you want to get the aftermath of the rebirth.
Recursive subtitles there.
And the other one is they're making their own take on The Sims. It is called Life by You, and we only have like a little teaser for it, but it looks like a Firaxis take on The Sims, which is welcome. Because The Sims is kind of, they've been doing their thing. Sims 4 has been hanging around for a while.
Mm-hmm. How many expansions are they up to now?
Oh God, I don't know. It's double digits for sure. But so yeah, big stuff at Firaxis. There were other things, but I have laid out the ones that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Yeah. And Dennis, what's happening with the folks who made Forspoken?
Oh boy, yeah, Forspoken, which I don't think we've really given any significant airtime on the show. I could be repressing it because the game apparently was mediocre AF, had a terrible launch, has a lot of problems. So bad, in fact, that Luminous Productions, who developed the game, is getting shut down.
That's a shame.
It is a shame that a game, a new IP at that, did so poorly that this is happening. Fortunately, it sounds like, at least the way they're positioning it, is the team is getting folded into other projects at Square Enix.
Okay.
So the team will be redistributed throughout Square Enix. So how much of that is actually people get to keep their jobs? How much of that is marketing euphemisms? I don't know. But yeah, that's Forspoken is no more. Apparently, though, interestingly, the team had already been working on laying the groundwork for a sequel to Forspoken, and that is obviously canned since the game did so poorly that the team will no longer exist. They were working on some other small projects as well. Nothing too notable. But they will continue working on an update to Forspoken that I'm paraphrasing here will make the game playable before they fully dissolve.
My understanding was it wasn't that it was an unplayable game. It's that it was just the tone was really, really off-putting in terms of just being one of those games that is, really in style right now with a protagonist who really just doesn't shut up,
Yeah.
Which I feel bad given that the protagonist is a woman of color. I do not want her to shut up. But yeah, it just that initial trailer didn't didn't show pretty well, and then like it had some like really neat mechanical ideas and like cool level design, like cool set pieces and stuff, but that was on top of some pretty generic open world kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I went and looked at like a review roundup for it. By the way, it's sitting at 64% on average, with the user score cutting that in half.
Yeah.
So not a good reception by any expansion. It felt to me like those things that you cited, the positives, were kind of manufactured by reviewers who kind of have to figure out something nice to say about the game. Because that's the format of the review.
Yeah.
Rather than it actually doing anything that got people excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. This reeks of a game that was focus grouped into oblivion, and a game where people didn't stop to think if the idea that sounded cool in principle was actually shaping up to be fun in practice.
Yeah.
So sad to see it go. Yeah, this update. You tell me if this sounds like a very playable game right now. It says the update will include enhancements to the game's performance, graphics, and playability, as well as general updates and fixes to the content. So,
Right.
it had some good ideas. It just didn't have good performance, graphics, playability, or content. Just missing a couple small things that they'll hopefully patch in here.
Other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play? Ugh.
Yeah. So yeah, sad to see it go. Like it's one of those things you look at and you'd be like, I wish I could like it. So
no, you want to like an underdog. You want to like something that's scrappy. Could this be a hidden?
I want to like a new
deal?
idea.
Yeah.
I want a new idea that took a couple risks on casting and all that stuff. Like I want that to do well, and this wasn't it.
We're probably going to see more like this since Square Enix ousted their CEO. The one, like the one CEO who was still trying to put NFT projects forward, and finally they're like, "Okay, if we're not going to let this go, then we need to get rid of you."
Someone needs to tell the emperor he has no clothes.
Yeah. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Jala.
No, nothing.
Yeah. So that sounds like a segment and a show. How do we feel about buttoning it up?
I feel buttons.
Let's button.
The credit.
Thank you so much for listening, folks. If you enjoy the show, you know what to do to help us out. Subscribe, like, rate, review, Patreon, tell your friends, the whole deal. 450 episodes, not counting the bonus level episodes. A weird thing to have that many.
Numbers keep on going up. Why do they do that?
Yeah. Can't think of any other promotional stuff other than if you're in the Midwest, come and see Gary and I at the Midwest Gaming Classic, March the 31st through April the 2nd in Milwaukee. Just do a Google search for Midwest Gaming Classic and find out about the details on there. Jala, what's going on? What's going on at your place?
Yeah, so first off, I want to say happy 6th anniversary to Monster Dear Monster. Woo!
Ooh,
So,
congrats.
yeah, they just recently did an episode on Cold Skin. If you have not seen the movie Cold Skin, it sounds like something that you would want to pair with that other movie, the Lighthouse movie. So, anyway, it's an interesting movie from the sound of it, and it was a very good episode. Recommend that folks check that out at monsterdeer.monster. As for Jala-chan's place, the episode that's coming out, not this at the same time as this episode, but the week after, will be on the poetry of Alok. The last episode that we did was on accessibility and universal design. So, disability stuff and some poetry from a very cool non-binary trans rights activist person who is really amazing. So
Nice. Cool. Well, Dennis, what's going on with Deck of Wonders?
You should buy it. It's a cool game.
Take it. All right. Well, I've been Kole Ross. You can catch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me in DMZ, but not with drill charges.
And I'm Jala-chan in all the places that you may find me.
And stick around for some titles.
Easter egg.
I only have one.
Okay.
Wood and Degradation.
I like that. I was bad. I don't have any.
I got two for you.
Okay.
So on average, you had one. I had a predictable fiddly,
Okay.
and then I had aftermath : rebirth : aftermath.
All right. I like wood and degradation.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
All right.
it's not quite a vegetable, but you can kind of get there with some mental
We're
gymnastics.
weaning ourselves off the vegetables.
Late title submission: weaning ourselves off the vegetables.
Cool. Well,
Good stuff.
it is decided.